This is review lesson 3, multiply and divide mixed numbers, and this is found on page 11. Part 1, convert each mixed number to an improper fraction. So in box A, notice that we have mixed numbers. So not only do we have whole numbers, not only do we have fractions, we have both whole numbers and fractions, and that's what makes us a mixed number. So if you look at 4.5, 4 is a whole number, 1/2 is a fraction. If you have 4.5, this is considered a mixed number because there's a whole number and there's a fraction. So what if you wanted to work only with fractions and not with whole numbers and with fractions? So let's turn everything into fractions. And we'll go ahead and use halves since this one is already a half. So cut all the whole numbers in half, just like this. Cut it in half. Cut it in half. This one already is a half, so leave that one alone. And now let's count all of the halves. We have 1/2, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, 6 halves, 7 halves, 8 halves, and 9 halves. So write down 9 halves. And you can see that 4 and 1/2 is equal to 9 halves. Box your answer. Next is box B. So we have 3 and 2/3. There's the whole number 3. There's a fraction 2/3. So let's turn everything into thirds instead of having whole numbers and thirds. So draw a dot in the center. Draw a line straight down. Branch to the left. Branch to the right. This is broken up into thirds. Break up the next circle into thirds. Drop straight down, branch to the left, branch to the right, and then keep going. And now we have all thirds. So let's count all of the thirds. We have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3, 5/3, 6/3, 7/3, 8/3, 9/3, 10/3, and 11/3. Write down 11/3 and box your answer. So 3 and 2/3 is equal to 11/3. Now we're going to go straight from the mixed number and turn it into the improper fraction without having to draw the bar model. So here's how we do that. Just multiply 4 times 2, that equals 8. 8 plus 1 more equals 9. 9 what? 9 halves, because we're working with halves. Next one for letter B. To go from the mixed number and go straight to the improper fraction, just multiply 3 times 3, that's 9. 9 plus 2 more equals 11. 11 what? 11/3. And this makes sense because we're working with thirds. So that's how you can go straight from the mixed number into the improper fraction without having to draw the model. And these are called improper fractions because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. Part 2, convert to improper fractions. And we're going to do these two problems without drawing the model. So we'll do letter C and letter F. So write down your equal sign. First, multiply 8 times 5. That's 40. 40 plus 3 more equals 43. 43 what? 43 fifths, since we're working with fifths. Box your answer. One more, letter F. 2 and 1/2. So first, multiply 2 times 2, that equals 4. 4 plus 1 more equals 5. 5 what? 5 halves. And this makes sense because we're working with halves. Box your answer. Here is part 3. It says, multiply or divide. At the end, convert any improper fractions back to mixed numbers. So we'll do letter I and then letter L. Here is letter I. Let's convert these mixed numbers into improper fractions first. So 5 times 4 is 20. 20 plus 1 more equals 21. 21 what? 21 fourths. Touch the division sign and write it down. And next we have 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 1 more is 7. 7 what? 7 thirds, since we're working with thirds. And now you'll notice that this is a much simpler problem to solve. It's a division problem, so let's use KCF. Write down keep, change, flip. So let's keep 21 fourths, change division into multiplication, and flip 7 thirds into 3 sevenths. Take the reciprocal. And now we've just turned it into a multiplication problem, which is easier. So let's see if we can simplify anything. The 4 and the 3 will not simplify, but the 7 and the 21 will simplify. So divide by 7, divide by 7. That gives you 1 and 3. And now we can multiply. So 3 times 3 equals 9. Write it down. 4 times 1 equals 4. So our answer so far is 9 fourths. And if you put this into a computer, it will mark it as correct. But it's a little difficult for our brain to understand, so let's convert it back to a mixed number. We're going to do it the long way first, and then we'll try the shortcut. So write down 9 fourths right over here. Here's 9 fourths equals, and we're going to break it up into 2 smaller fractions. So write down blank over 4 plus blank over 4. 9 divided by 4 does not divide evenly, but 8 divided by 4 does. So write down 8, and then find the missing number. 8 plus 1 more equals 9, so write down 1. And now we can see the final answer. So 8 divided by 4 is 2, write a big whole number 2. What's left over? 1 fourth, so write down 1 fourth. And your final answer is 2 and 1 fourth. Let's see if we can get this answer by going straight to the answer instead of breaking it up this way. So here's a shortcut. 9 divided by 4 is no, that does not divide evenly, so count backwards. 8 divided by 4 is a yes. And what is 8 divided by 4? That's 2. So write a big whole number 2. And what's going to be left over? We have 1 left over. 1 what? 1 fourth, since we're working with fourths. So your final answer is 2 and 1 fourth. And notice how this matches that. So whether you break it up this way, or if you can use a shortcut, either way you'll end up with exactly the same answer. Last one, let's go ahead and do box L together. So first, let's convert this mixed number into an improper fraction. 4 times 5 equals 20. 20 plus 4 more equals 24. 24 what? 24 fifths, since we're working with fifths. Touch the multiplication symbol, write it down. And now convert this. 1 times 9 equals 9. 9 plus 1 more equals 10. 10 what? 10 ninths. And now we can simplify, since this is a much easier problem than the original problem. Okay, so we can simplify 5 and 10 in blue. Divide by 5, divide by 5. That gives you 1 and 2. And now in green we can simplify the 9 and the 24. So divide by 3, divide by 3. That gives you 3 and 8. And now let's multiply. So 8 times 2 equals 16. 1 times 3 equals 3. So our solution so far is 16/3. Type it into a computer, it will mark it as correct. But it's a little difficult for our brain to understand, so let's go ahead and convert back to a mixed number. So we'll try the shortcut first, and then we'll show it the long way. So here we go. 16 divided by 3 is no, that does not divide evenly. 15 divided by 3, that's a yes, because 15 divided by 3 is 5. Write a big whole number 5. How much is going to be left over? We'll have 1 left over. 1 what? 1/3, because we're working with thirds. So our final answer is 5 and 1/3. Let's go ahead and break it up the long way so that we can see for ourselves that this answer really is correct. Copy down 16/3 on the bottom right here. So write down 16/3. And we're going to break this up into two smaller fractions. So let's write down blank over 3 plus blank over 3. 16 divided by 3 is a no. Counting backwards, 15 divided by 3 is a yes, because that divides evenly. So write down 15. And you're going to have 1 left over, because 15 plus 1 gives you that 16. And now we can see our answer. So 15 divided by 3, that's 5. Big whole number 5. What's left over? 1/3. So write down 1/3. Final answer, 5 and 1/3, which matches the 5 and 1/3 that we found here when we use a shortcut. Let's go over one more example together, which is a special case. Take a look at box N. So you'll notice that this problem is very complicated. So rather than solve it the way that we have been doing it, let's go ahead and solve by inspection instead. Write down solve by inspection. And what this means is to just look at the problem, and by simply looking at the problem, you will be able to figure out the answer without doing any calculations. So notice that 43 and 23/37 is the same as this 43 and 23/37. And any number divided by itself equals 1. So the final answer for this problem is simply 1. Box your answer.